Okay, so this video, this session, which will also be a video available to you afterwards, we will go over 3.4.8 berries and 3.4.9 battleship. So let's check out berries. What's going on with berries? All right, so in this problem, in this program, we want to make it so that our program gets a customer's berry order. The customer is able to push buttons to enter the berry that they want. To make it easier on the customer, they only need to push the first letter of the berry that they want. So, um, for our program, we're only going to make 3 berries available: raspberry, huckleberry, and goji berry. So if the customer wants a raspberry, they're going to press R. If they want a huckleberry, they're going to press H. And if they want a goji berry, they're going to press G. So basically, we need to be able to get user input and do something with it. After the customer enters their order, we need to print out what they ordered. So if they ordered R, we're going to print, "You ordered raspberry." This is very important. If the user enters something that is not R, H, or G, we need to accommodate for that. We need to say berry not recognized. Okay, so the tricky thing about this program is that the scanner object is only going to be able to read a string, not a single character. But we can convert a string to a character using this special string method called char@. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to locate the character at position 0 because that's going to be the first letter of the string. Okay, and then we're going to compare that character to see if it matches R, H, or G, or neither of those. And that's how we're going to write the logic of this program. Now, because we are comparing characters, characters are called primitives, right? So we're going to use the double equals to compare them. They are not objects, so we don't need to use this equals method. Okay, here are some examples of the output that we can expect. So if the user puts in R, we're going to say, "You ordered raspberry." If the person puts something like K, which is not R, H, or G, we're going to say berry not recognized. All right, so it's kind of a lot, but we're going to take it step by step. Let me go ahead and change this so that we are starting from scratch. Okay, so here's our berries program. So what we need to do is well, first of all, there's one step missing from here. We need to actually create our scanner object so that we can get user input, right? So they've already imported the scanner class for us. What we need to do, though, is create the scanner object. Oops. So I'm going to add that comment at the top here. Create scanner object. And so we'll go ahead and create that right now. Scanner, I'm going to call it input, and then we'll call the constructor scanner, new scanner, and then inside we want to pass the parameter system.in. Okay, so we've created our scanner object. Now we want to ask for the berry's initial, right? Because we want our customer to be able to just press the first letter of every berry to order it. So we're going to go ahead and put a print statement there. System.out.print line. And we're just going to say enter. I can't remember if it's A or the. Let's see. Enter the initial of the berry. Enter the initial of the berry. Okay, so that will prompt the user to enter which berry that they want. And now we need to get that. So there's actually 2 steps here. First, we're going to get the user's input as a string, and then we're going to get that first letter and store it as a character. Okay, so first step, We're going to get the user's input, store it as a string. So string, I'm just going to call this str for string, just like they did here in the comment. And we're going to say input dot next line. Okay, so that's gonna store user's input as a string. Okay, so they might only be putting in R or K or whatever, which is a single character, but next line always stores stuff as a string, which is why we have to assign it a string type here. But we actually want just a single character. So we're going to use this method, char at, in order to specify that we want to get back the character at position 0. So that's the very first letter of our string. And that's going to return a character, so a character type. So we're going to say char, that's the data type, and then I'm just going to call it Barry. And then I'm going to put exactly what it has in the comment here. I'm going to put str, which is the name of our string, and then I'm going to call the char at method and specify that I want the character at the 0th position, the very, very, very first letter in that string. So now I'm storing that first character that the user put in as their input. Okay, so now that I have that character, I can compare it to those letters. I can compare it to see if it matches R, H, or G. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to use condition statements. I'm going to use my if blocks. So I'm going to say if Barry, and remember I can use my double equals here because character is a primitive type. It's not an object type, so I can use this double equals. So if Barry is the same as the character R, notice I'm using single quotes here. Single quotes means character, double quotes means string, so I need to use single quotes. So if Barry is R, that means that they ordered a raspberry, and I want to print out you ordered raspberry. System.out.println. You ordered raspberry. Okay, cool. Now I need to check to see, did they enter H? So what kind of statement do I want to put after this if? If I have more than one option I want to check for, what is that called? Yeah, an else if. Thank you, Sky. So else if Barry is equal to H, then I want to print out, there we go. Then I want to print out that you ordered huckleberry, which I don't even think, can you buy huckleberries? I don't even know. You can in this class, I guess. Huckleberry. You ordered huckleberry. And then guess what? We want an additional else if, because we can use as many else if blocks as we want and need, okay? So we can only have one if in a conditional structure, but we can have as many else ifs as we please. So we're gonna do another else if, and now we're gonna check to see if Barry is equal to G. And if that is true, then we know that they want to order themselves a goji berry. So I'm going to go ahead and print that out. So we're going to say you ordered goji berry. Oh, I guess there's a space in there. Okay. But there's one more case we want to check. What's the other thing that we want to do? We want to cover to see if they've entered something we don't recognize. So what do I want to put here? Do I want to put an if? Do I want to put an else if? Or, like Sky says, yes, I want to put an else, because that's going to catch everything else, no matter what else they put in, even like a period or a zero, it's going to catch it. Else, we're going to go ahead and print Barry not recognized. Cool. All right, that should be it. All right, so let's go ahead and test this guy out. Let's run the code. And eventually it will run. So let's see, if I enter R, it should say that you ordered a raspberry. If I enter something weird like 0, berry not recognized, or even like an S, berry not recognized. If I enter an H, it should be huckleberry. If I enter a G, it should be goji berry. Cool. And then if I click check, it'll do all those tests for me, including one that won't match R, G, or H. And it should pass all those tests. All right, let me know if you have any questions at this point before we move on to the next question. Okay, so there's no questions. Let's go on to Battleship, which is a little bit more involved. There's a lot going on. So this is to kind of replicate, I don't know, kind of like a Battleship game, I guess. So the Battleship class is represented by a few different properties. There's a name, which is actually just the type of the ship, not the ship's name. So the type of ship. There's also power, which is the power level of the ship's attack. So how strongly it attacks, how much it's going to basically determine how much damage it can deal. And then a health property that is how much, like any video game, you have like a certain number of health points, and it will decline every time that particular battleship gets attacked. Okay, so we got those 3 properties. There are also 2 instance methods that we have to actually implement, right? We have to fill out the code for it. So there's is attacked, which I think I don't know, there's a little bit of, they kind of describe it a little confusingly, but let's go through it. So is attacked, and let's actually look at the code. Let me refresh this, because they kind of explain it a little confusingly. Reset. You resetting or what? Okay. Okay, so is attacked. Basically, it's a method where you pass in the attack power of the ship that's attacking. Okay, so the ship that's attacking has a certain attack power, and depending on the amount of that attack power, the ship that's actually being attacked is going to lose a certain amount of health points. Okay, and so the conditions for that are here in the assignment. So if the attack power of the attacking ship is less than 4, then the ship is going to lose 3 health points. So it takes on 3 points of damage. If the attacking ship has less than 8 attack power, the ship being attacked is going to lose 5 health points. And then if the attack power of the attacking ship is 8 or more, the ship being attacked is going to lose 7 health points. Okay, so we're going to have to implement that. And then there's another method called still floating that basically checks to see if the ship has more than 0 health. And if there's more than 0 health, then guess what? The ship is still floating. Otherwise, it's not. It has sunk. Okay, so let's do the still floating one first, since there's only one condition to check there. So the condition to check for still floating is to see if the ship's health is greater than 0. Okay, so what does that condition look like? We need to know if the ship's health is greater than 0, so what we need to do is we need to find the property, the instance variable that actually keeps track of the health. And guess what? It's named health, so we can just use that. So we're going to basically check to see if health is greater than 0. Now, here's what's kind of cool, is we could write this as an entire if statement like this. If health is greater than 0, then we can say, well, we see that we want to return a Boolean, a true false. So if the health is greater than 0, what does that mean? It means that yes, true, the ship is still floating. So we would want to return true. Now, if this statement is not false, that means, if this statement is false, that means that we're not going to execute this. And that's the only way we would get to this next line. We would return false, right? Because remember, anytime we return, it means we also exit out of that method. So that's why I don't have to put an else here, okay? But guess what? I can make this code even simpler. And that's because this method is returning a Boolean. And guess what? This returns a Boolean too. This returns true. And it's kind of redundant that we're saying if this is true, return true. If it's false, return false. We can condense all 4 lines of this code into a single statement. So I'm going to comment this out. I'll keep it there just for your reference. But I'm going to write an equivalent piece of code, but it's just 1 line. I'm going to say return health greater than 0. Okay, so that's going to return the truth value, the Boolean value of this. If this is true, if health is greater than 0, it's going to return true, which is what we want, right? It means it's still floating. If health is not, if it's 0 or less, we're going to return false, which is what we want. It means they're not still floating. And so this 1 line of code is doing the same thing as these 4 lines of code. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use this 1 line instead of these 4 lines. Okay. So that's how we'll implement still floating. Now, is attacked has a few different conditions. Okay, it's got 3 different conditions here. And we're going to start at the top, right? We want to go in numerical order. First, we want to check to see if this attack power is less than 4. So let's say if attacking ship power is less than 4, then we're gonna take away 3 health. 3 health from the target ship. Let me add another line here so it can all fit. From target ship. Okay, so let's write that condition now. So there's an if there, so we're going to go ahead and write an if statement. If the attacking ship's power is less than 4. So this parameter that's being passed in is the attacking ship's power. So I'm going to go ahead and use that variable. If that value is less than 4, then I know I want to take away 3 health from my target ship. Okay, how do I do that? Remember that this is the property of the ship that I am currently targeting, so health. So I can go ahead and say health is health minus 3. But remember, I can shorten this as well. I can use my combination operators. So I can write it that way, or I can write it this way. Health minus equals 3. Does the same thing, okay? But you'll see this pretty often, especially in Java code. In some languages you can't do this, but you will definitely see this throughout this course and on the AP test, so I'm going to use that. Yeah, Joaquin, that's exactly right. Health minus equals 3, yes. Okay, so that covers our first condition here. Now we need to check another condition. We need to check to see if the attacking ship's power is less than 8. Okay, so if we know that it's not less than 4, we know that it's going to be at least 4 here. So really what this is checking to see is if the attacking ship's power is somewhere between 4 and 7. Okay, just to be clear. So if the attacking ship's power is less than 8. So really what we mean here is between 4 and 7. Take away, how much do we have to take away? We have to take away now 5 damage, 5 health from target ship. Okay, cool. So what kind of condition blocker are we going to use here? This is a second Boolean expression that we're going to use. So what do we want to use? An if, an else if, or an else? Yeah, else if. Okay, so we're going to use an else if. And then we're going to now check to see if the attack power, this right here, this is the attacking power of the attacking ship, attack power is less than 8. If that's true, then we're going to take away some health, but this time we're going to take away 5 health. So we'll say health minus equals 5. Okay. And now we just have one other condition. And that's if the attack power is 8 or more. So how can I capture that? I already know if I'm at this part of the code, I already know that it's that it is not less than 4 and it's not less than 8. Okay, so then if we have an else, yeah, that'll catch all the other values. This will mean if the attacking ship's power is 8 plus, right? Just realized that I need that. There we go. Then we're going to take away 7 damage. So take away 7 health from target ship. All right, so I don't have to put that condition there. The else just means if it's any other number, if it's any other value, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take away 7 health. Okay, that should do it. They've already implemented the get power and the toString for us. So let's see what's going on in the tester. Let's go ahead and run it and see what's going on. Okay, so the first thing that it prints out here is the health, right? The health of the submarine. So we're creating a ship called a submarine. By default, if we look at the constructor here, we're passing in the attack power and the ship's name or the type. And by default, each ship has 100 health to start with, okay? So the submarine starts out with 100 health and it has 6 attack power, right? Got passed in here. The raft has 100 health and the raft has 2 attack power. The destroyer has 100 health and it has an attack power of 9. Okay, so now we're gonna have the raft attack the sub. So we know that the raft, let's see here, the raft, we know as the attacking ship, it has a power of 2, attack power of 2. And if we look at our logic here, we're gonna first check this, right? If the attack power is less than 4, 2 is less than 4, so that's true. That means that the sub is gonna lose 3 health. So remember the sub's health was 100. If we subtract 3 from that, we're now gonna have 97, and that's what we see getting printed out. What happens next is that the destroyer has an attack power of 9. The destroyer is gonna attack the raft. So the destroyer, if it has a 9 attack power, this is going to be false. 9 is not less than 4. 9 is also not less than 8, so it's going to hit this else. So it's going to take away 7 health from the raft. The raft also started out with 100 health points. If we subtract 7 from that, the raft's health is going to go down to 93. And then last, the sub has an attack power of 6. It's going to attack the destroyer. The sub has an attack power of 6, so that means this is going to be false. 6 is not less than 4, but 6 is less than 8, so it's going to take away 5 health from the destroyer. The destroyer also started out with 100 health. Take away 5 from that, you get 95. So it seems to be working correctly. So let's go ahead and click on check. And it looks like everything worked correctly. Awesome. And it's also checking to see if our ships are still floating after each attack as well. So that's pretty cool. Kind of put in the logic of an actual game in there, at least, you know, part of a very simple game of Battleship, right? So that's kind of cool. That I like that project. That's pretty good. It's kind of violent, but at least it's very real world of what you would see in a game's logic. All right, so let me pause the recording.